basically going to be breaking down the exact strategy you can use so that you can get to about 250 sales calls per month. Now, this is going to vary depending on the type of company, depending on who you target, but it all has to do with go-to-market. This is the complete playbook that I charge companies tens of thousands for, given to you for free. So enjoy. Now, who am I? I am Alexander Velev, and I've built the go-to-market systems for over 100 different B2B companies, okay? And I've generated over 60 million in sales pipeline. And the majority of it has been specifically for B2B SaaS companies. Okay, so if you're a B2B SaaS, you're in the right place. And I also am qualified to speak on this because I have an AI software B2B SaaS as well. Now, here are the 8 different pillars in this video. First, we have the 6 reasons why B2B SaaS companies fail with their go-to-market. Then we have choosing your go-to-market motion. Pillar number 3, going beyond ICP and targeting, and why the list is actually the message. Then we have the multi-channel system. Then creating unreasonably good positioning and messaging. A lot of the things that you might think you know about messaging and positioning is actually wrong. So I'll be explaining that as well. Then pillar number 6 is SaaS pricing strategy and unit economics. Then pillar 7 actually give you a 6-month roadmap of how you can implement everything in this video, and all of the advice is just given, like ready to use basically. And then number 8 is building a successful self-improving ecosystem. This is incredibly important if you're building a SaaS company. You need an ecosystem, and all of the biggest SaaS companies in the world have an ecosystem. If you do not know what it means, I'm going to explain. So let's get into pillar number 1, which is the 6 reasons why most SaaS companies fail with their go-to-market. Number 1 is you're not selling to the right people. And this doesn't necessarily mean ICP, okay? Because the definition of ICP is just very generalized. It's not that important, right? If you say that you sell to SaaS companies in the US with 10 to 200 employees, that's not really an ICP, okay? That tells you nothing about the situation of that company. There is a huge range of SaaS companies in the US with 10 to 200 employees. That cannot be your targeting. That cannot be an ICP. And also an ICP cannot be something that is in a static document from 2 years ago that you created. An ICP definition should stem from all of the customer interactions, all of the top of funnel data that you get, all of the outreach, all of the advertising, every single customer success call, every single customer interview should then feed into a dynamic definition of your ICP, which now, thanks to tools like Claude Code, you can create that dynamic ICP. And I'll actually show you how you can do this in a little bit. Number 2 is that you're selling to the right people, but your messaging and positioning does not convert that audience. As I said, if you have really good understanding of your customer and it's based on real truths, this is kind of one of the main points in the video, is that you cannot just guess your way to creating a good go-to-market strategy or try to create it based on your feelings or your vague memories of what you think is right. You need to actually base it on facts. And facts are, what do people respond to? What makes people convert? And not what you say, but what does the actual data say? This is the messaging, right? And the messaging is not something you come up with. The messaging is something that you create through an iterative process, and you can always keep improving. That's why if you do outreach, for example, you're not going to test one message and then say, oh, outreach doesn't work. What we do for our clients is we test 30 to 40 different variants of different positioning and messaging. And the one that gets the highest response rate and the most deals is the one that we go forward with. That goes into the content, that goes into the website. It's not something that's separated, okay? Your go-to-market is not different channels that are all glued together. It is one whole system. Then number 3 is you're targeting the right people, and you have a good message, but your processes are inefficient. For some reason, still a lot of the companies that I work with, and that's kind of the reason why they hire my company as well, is that they have a sales team, but their processes are just full of so much soul-crushing manual grind that the salespeople cannot really do their job, right? If they need to research everything, if they don't have a proper record system, they have a messy CRM, it's too hard for them to do their work. Using something like HubSpot is usually not good enough. HubSpot is really terrible at some things. You might need some apps from the marketplace, or you might need to just build some of your own automations and some of your own tools inside of Claude Code. So that's very important. And a lot of people are not doing it. They're just keeping inside of that soul crushing grind. Now, number 4 is that you are still doing founder-led sales with no systems, and you're closing deals because you're good. This is very common for newer SaaS companies. And, if you do not have a process, even for yourself, right? For my SaaS company, for example, I have an actual process that I follow. I don't just decide, today I'll maybe do some outreach, maybe I won't. A lot of people do not know their numbers, whether it's their own numbers or the numbers of their team. And that's because they do not have a process, right? And then you cannot have a go-to-market system. And then you cannot have proper data. And if you cannot have proper data, then you cannot know if you're actually targeting the best people. Which segment? Because in your ICP, you can have multiple segments. Which segment converts better? You cannot know that. Then number 5, it's similar to number 4, is that you have a sales or a marketing team that is full of freestylers. So you do not give them a proper process, and then they just start freestyling. Most companies have an actual simple process that they follow, but that process is either soul crushing and extremely manual, or the process should be, it should have guardrails. You cannot just have every single salesperson running a different demo of your SaaS. You cannot have that. It's not acceptable. It is not how you're going to scale your company, by everybody just doing their own thing. Number 6 is, and I kind of already mentioned this, is that your go-to-market, you should not be perceiving it as a bunch of systems and a bunch of channels and a bunch of processes that are all glued together. It is one ecosystem where everything either helps everything else, or one inefficiency in one place can break everything, right? So it is both something amazing, because if you build a really great system, then it's just feeding itself, right? It's feeding oxygen into the fire, which is amazing with your company growth. But if you mess up one thing, then the whole thing doesn't work, right? That's why you need to flip your perspective of how you see go-to-market. This is extremely important, and I'll give you some examples in a little bit. Now, let's go to pillar 2, and that is choosing the best go-to-market motion for your SaaS. Now, here I listed the 6 most popular ones, but you need to know that a lot of companies actually have a mix of these. If not, pretty much every single company, I would say, especially big companies, they have a mix of these. Now, first we have the product-led growth, which is basically a free trial, or a very cheap way for you to acquire customers, like a free trial, $1 trial, free sign, for example, or even a free tier. It's notorious for being one of the hardest things to scale. Also, you might need a lot of funding to be able to pull this off. But it does make a lot of sense if, and this is the next thing that we're going to talk about, if you sell something that's like $83 a month, for example, you cannot afford to get on sales calls with people, because the unit economics are not going to make any sense. It needs to be a POG. Okay, but we're going to get into that in a little bit. Then if you have sales-led or top-down is different from bottom-up. It's basically the structure of the organization. So top-down basically means going from the decision makers down to the actual people that are going to use your software. Bottom-up means that you, for example, sell something that the sales reps are going to use. Then you can directly get those sales reps to sign up to the free plan of your software. And then if they really like it, they can go to the management. This is the POG. They can go to the management of the company and they can say, hey, I would like to get this tool. And then they can be like the champion. It's called the champion. And then they can promote that tool internally so you can close the deal. These are the differences. You can also do sales-led. Then we have marketing-led or inbound. So that's just a lot of content and demand generation. Then we have partner-led and channel, which is basically like affiliate or having a bunch of different partners that give you referrals in a sense. There's a lot of different ways to do this, and big companies usually grow a lot because of this. So this is very common with bigger companies, or even something like Go High Level. A lot of you might actually know that tool. They have a white label. So you have a white label, you can purchase their software, and then you can resell it for more money to other people and set it up for them. That's another way to another go-to-market motion that's possible. Then we have community-led, so building a brand community to drive awareness. Again, this might be more suitable for products that cost less, but it's also very possible, and I think you should do it with products that also cost more. Okay, so kind of the main thing that I want to say here is you do not need to choose one of these, and they all have advantages and disadvantages, but to build an ecosystem, which I said is one of the most important things you need to do, you should combine a lot of them. So your average contract value determines your motion to a large extent. And this is not optional, it's math. As I said, you cannot afford to sell a $10 a month subscription on a sales call. If you remember the last $10 a month subscription that you bought, it wasn't on a sales call, right? Now, if you're selling something cheap, or if you have multiple tiers, the cheap tier, it could be community-led, it could be partner-led, marketing-led, but sales-led is not possible. Okay, that motion is just not possible for you. Then we have, if your average contract value is between 1K to 10K, then you can do hybrid, right? I would say that once you get over 10,000, then you can really, in average contract value, then you can really focus on sales-led. I think sales-led is amazing, especially if you have a really big total addressable market. Let's say you have 300,000 people that could pay you an average contract value of $20,000, for example, then that's amazing. You can hire a bunch of cold callers, you can set up a bunch of outbound, do some marketing content, and just blast all those people with high quality messaging, of course. I do not necessarily believe in just spamming your entire market. I think now though, what you can do, especially if you have a very big market, is you can reach out to your entire market, even if it's 500,000 people. You can do that every 3 months, and you can do it with a really high quality message, sometimes even something better than you can send manually. And this is what we do for a lot of our clients. And I'm a very big believer in it, by the way. Every 3 months, you can reach out to your entire market with outbound specifically. Okay. And then we have, if your average contract value is $50,000 or even $1 million plus, we've had clients with over $1 million, then the sales process changes a lot. The lead generation can still be kind of the same. So to get the lead, you can still do content. You can still even do PLG, because a cheap product that costs $10 a month for an individual to use or for a one-man company to use might cost hundreds of thousands for a very large enterprise with 1,000 seats, for example. So it's very different, right? So my main point is, do not get obsessed with this and just combine both of them and do what makes sense for you specifically. Now, the two main tools that I would use when I am actually looking at my market size and deciding my motion. Well, the first one is AI Arc, which is leads database, and I'm actually going to go into the tool right now. Give me 1 second. Probably many of you have heard of Apollo, ZoomInfo, Prospeo, many of these. AI Arc is actually one of the newest companies on the market. Okay, let's go into it. So we have a company lookalike. Soon there is going to be a people lookalike. There's a lot of different things. Now, the main difference with this lead database is they have 70 million. I've selected a bunch of stuff here. They have 70 million company records and 520 million people records. The big difference here is they have created a vector database with every single person or every single company on the list. So you can actually do company lookalike searches. So you can come in here and you can actually type in your top 5 best customers, and then you can create a list of 1,000 similar companies to your top 5 best customers. Also, the pricing of this is way cheaper than something like Apollo. I'm not affiliated with them in any way, by the way. This is just something that we actually switched to about a week ago. So it's a really amazing new tool. The other tool that I mentioned is called Clay. Clay is an amazing tool as well. It's one of the most popular tools in the go-to-market space right now. You've probably heard of it. It's quite difficult to use, but if you spend a couple of hours learning it, or a couple of weeks actually, I've been doing Clay work for over 3 years at this point. It's quite difficult to do, but this is how you can build a list of companies, and you can actually decide, okay, how many companies are there in the world that can use my services? You can just go to AI, you can put the location, the employee size, the industry. They have a lot of different stuff in here that's actually on top of what Apollo provides. for example, employed by department. When I'm selling my own SaaS, for example, I might want to look at the sales department between 5 and 10 people. Okay. So then I get out of 70 million companies, I get 2.1 million companies. Then I can actually search, hey, is this a SaaS company? I only want SaaS companies with 2 to 10 salespeople. Okay, I have 6,000 companies now. I can go in here and then I can put my best customers who are B2B SaaS companies between 2 and 10 salespeople, and I can probably get a list of like 2,000 companies, and then I can go and reach out to them. I can even export this list into clay.com. I can filter it down and I can write one-on-one messaging that's probably even better than what I can write personally. Okay. Now, if you use these two and then your total addressable market is around 500 people, for example, then you need to do what's called account-based marketing. So this is account-based. You pick one company and then you go very deep into that company. You research it a lot. You reach out to multiple people inside of it with a different message, because each person within the same company cares about different KPIs and different results. So it needs a different strategy. If your total addressable market is around 500 or less than a couple thousand, and you're not selling something that's extremely high value, if you're not selling something that's worth over $100,000, for example, then your company cannot really survive and your company cannot really grow. It just doesn't make sense, because you cannot acquire all of these 500 people, and let's say you acquire 20% of them and you charge $10,000 a month, $10,000 total, not a month, then that's not really, it's not really possible for you to scale your company. Now, I would say that even for the people, I've wrote down here that you can reach out your entire total addressable market every 2 to 3 months. I actually believe that you can do this not only if you have only 500 people, but even if you have over 50,000 or even 500,000 people a month, or not a month, in total, you can reach out to them. Even if it's not every 2 to 3 months, you can maybe do it every 6 months, and it's still going to make a lot of sense and a lot of sales as well. Right now, PLG here does not really make sense. Sales-led makes lots of sense, right? The next thing that you need to understand when you're picking a motion, and this, nobody talks about this, because people can talk about the total addressable market, they can talk about all of these things here. What nobody talks about is demand generation versus demand capture for SaaS. Demand generation means your product can generate demand in people that weren't already looking for that product today. For example, nobody necessarily woke up today and said, maybe I need a lead generation software. But if I offer you that I can get you more customers, then generates demand, okay? But also nobody woke up today looking for a cybersecurity service or a cybersecurity software. The difference here is that a cybersecurity software, for example, is demand capture, because you can only capture demand for the most part. You cannot go to somebody and tell them, hey, do you want a cybersecurity platform? Not really. No, you need to find the people in the market that currently need that. Why this matters is because if you do have a demand generation offer, then doing something like mass outreach doesn't make a lot of sense, because you're basically hoping, hey, maybe if I reach out to 50,000 people, maybe a couple of them will be interested. No, you need to take that list of 50,000 people, look for the ones that need it at the moment, and understand why they need it, and then you reach out. This is why the demand generation versus demand capture matters so much, so much. With demand generation, it is a lot more about your offer, about your positioning, about your messaging. And even if you have an amazing offer, but you have something that's demand capture, nobody wants it, because there is no demand, right? There is demand, and then there is supply. If there is no demand, you cannot give them the supply, right? Makes lots of sense. So for demand capture, for example, SEO works really well. So somebody, or AI SEO as well, somebody searches up for a cybersecurity software, you can be one of the top people that show up. You capture the demand. The demand is already there. They're searching for the cybersecurity software, right? This can also work for demand generation offers. You can also do SEO, right? There is a lot of competition though. And you don't need to do it. You can just do sales led. You can just do sales, you can do marketing, and you can get people that weren't interested to now be interested. There's some special ways you can turn a demand capture offer into a demand generation offer with lead magnets and a bunch of stuff like that. But I'll leave that for another video. Now, the two things that every B2B SaaS company should do is outreach and content. And this is without a doubt, just you need to listen to me. Every single company should be doing content and outreach at the same time. There is no reason why you cannot do outreach. Even if you sell something cheap, then you can still sell it to enterprise companies or to bigger companies that can pay you a lot more a month. So outreach is always extremely valuable, but try to do it usually when you're selling something that's 10K plus, so that your unit economics make sense. Now, content is something that a lot of companies are not putting lots of effort in, but they should. And the reason behind content is that it makes your outreach, it makes your sales calls, it makes everything so much easier. When you have a big brand and people know you, it's so much easier. So every company, regardless of which motion you choose here, you should absolutely be doing both content and outreach at the same time. Now, pillar number 3, we want to go with this pillar beyond the traditional ICP and marketing and ICP and targeting. And the main idea is that the list is the message. Okay, so an ICP, probably many of you know this, it's basically a detailed description of the perfect company that gets the most value from your product and also provides the most back, like the most amount of revenue, the highest retention to your SaaS company. Now, there's four different pillars, ICPs for SaaS company. Layer number 1 is firmographic. So this is basically data about the company, like industry, employees, employee size, revenue range, tech stack, stuff like that. Then we have, well, the tech stack is not here technically. Layer 2 is the technographics. So which tools are they currently using? Because let's say you're selling a CRM, you probably care if they're using HubSpot or Salesforce or any of those CRMs. And this data is actually publicly available via tools like BuiltWith, for example. They give you data about this. Then we have layer 3, which is signals. Some basic signals that everybody uses is when did this company raise funding? Are they hiring for new roles? But what I actually like doing is I like creating custom signals for companies, and I'm going to give you an amazing example in a little bit. We have layer 4, which is behavioral, like did they visit your website? Did they sign up to a free trial, to a webinar? How are they engaging on LinkedIn with similar content? This is the behavioral part. Now, segmentation is everything, because you cannot just take all of these 4 layers, line them up together, build a big list of companies and just start hammering them with ads or outreach. What you need to do is you need to create segments, and each segment needs to have different messaging. And the reason why you selected that segment is the message itself. For example, if I reach out to, as I showed you this example, if I reach out to companies with 2 to 10 salespeople in SaaS, and let's say they're similar, I put the lookalikes and I found some companies that are similar to my best clients, then I can go to them and I can basically explain to them why I'm even reaching out to them. So the list in this case is the message itself, because I know that these companies are facing issue number 1, issue number 2, and issue number 3. And I can help them in a way that I have already helped a bunch of other companies. So my reason to reach out is the message itself. This is how you need to think about it. Okay? Now, the second part is the targeting, and that is the strategic process of not only identifying the companies, but also the right people in those companies. This is very important because one ICP can have multiple targeting groups, and those can have multiple different things. For example, I can reach out to that list of SaaS companies, but when I reach out to the new hired VP of sales, for example, he just got hired, I'm going to talk to him differently than the founder who has been running things for the last couple of years and just recently stopped doing founder-led sales and hired his first 2 salespeople. I'm going to talk to those people completely differently. And this is the targeting part. You can have multiple different ICPs with multiple different segments, and you can have multiple targeting groups per one segment based on the people within that group. Okay, very important for you to understand. Then I wanted to show you this quickly because a lot of people are focused on the channels. Should you do cold calling? Should you do LinkedIn outreach? How should you allocate budgets across each one? How do you, what's the right number of people to reach out to? But the most important thing you need to focus on is the stuff in the middle here, okay? So that's the offer design, the ICP definition. How are you different? What's your pricing logic? How do you disqualify people, right? You get the list from AI Arc, as I said, you put it into Clay, you disqualify a bunch of people. It's very important for you to do. Only if this is covered can you get to the next steps. If this is not covered, then you cannot continue, okay? So here is a unique strategy that generated over 1.1 million for one of our clients from just one campaign. Now, the insights here, before I get into it, you should not be relying on the typical strategy that a lot of people share on YouTube or LinkedIn or that you're even used to, okay? Now, for example, this client is a B2B SaaS field service management platform. Basically, they work with large companies that have a lot of field service workers. They basically go in person and they put up cables, for example, or they put up some sort of sensors. These are the types of companies they work with. Now, the challenge is that not every big company that's in telecommunications, for example, that's a big industry that they target, not every single one needs their product, or not even every single one is qualified, because many of them might not have large field service teams, even if the companies. We have a full case study on the website if you want to look at it, but let me just jump into the results here, and I'm actually going to go into the strategy in a little bit. We reached out to about 1,600 leads. We got 176 responses, which is like a 12% reply rate, I think. We got 19 qualified sales opportunities, and they closed 4 deals. And the contract value of those 4 deals was $1.1 million. Okay, so really good results for just one campaign that didn't even take us that long to do. Okay, so the first step is that we built a full list of their total addressable market, especially because it's not that big. Okay, then we enriched it with a lot of data and we filtered it in Clay. If you just use a poll and you send outreach, or you use that list to set up your advertising, for example, or you use it for your ABM campaigns, it's not accurate. It actually needs to go through a tool like Clay, or if you want to build your own tool inside of Claude Code, you can also do that, but you need to get rid of all of the false positives. Then we estimated the number of field service workers inside of each company. For some of them, we had that number. For other ones, we had to create an algorithm to come up with the estimate numbers. If they didn't have enough people, we filtered out. Then we filtered out all of the people in the CRM. And this is the very interesting next thing that we actually did. We went to Glassdoor.com, which is the #1 company review website from the perspective of the employees. Because we knew that our client's software can help, especially when a company is very disorganized, or their operations or their management of their field service workers is not good. And we had to think, what's a good signal? Is it that they're hiring people in management? Is it that they raised funding? No, it's not. The best signal is not something you can get directly, right? In this case, it was, hey, if they're having problems managing these people and they're having day-to-day issues, most likely they're going to review the company back. So let's just go into Glassdoor, scrape over 1,000 different pages of companies that in their total addressable market, analyze each and every review from a field worker, figure out the things that they're complaining about, match those complaints to a KPI that's being affected, match that KPI to the responsible people for that KPI within each account that we're reaching out to, and then reach out to those people. Talking about the KPI that's being affected, technician productivity, talk about how we found it out from Glassdoor. Okay, and personalize it a little bit in the first line. We're saying that they've been leading operations at X company for 3 years, so we wanted to reach out. And all of this is created automatically. And this is actually by far the best campaign that we ran for this client. And we tested over 10 different strategies, but the one with a custom signal performed the best. Okay, very important for you to understand that you should not rely on a poll, on Zoom info. You should not rely on intent signals that you buy from another company. You should think for yourself and come up with these creative signals. And for so many companies, it's something that's very possible for you to do. Okay. The next important thing, especially if you want to come up with these custom signals and you want to get some really good results with your go-to-market, you need to upload your CRM data, your top-of-funnel data, your call recordings, your outreach data, your content, your client success data, your client interviews, and more into Claude Code. And you need to create a Claude Code second brain of your business. This is something that we've done internally. A lot of this video is actually done. Well, it's me talking and I wrote a lot of these things, but the ideation of it, the different points, 99% of this was generated by Claude Code based on who I am, how I help companies. And as I said in the beginning of the video, a lot of these insights are actually from my conversations with my clients. So enjoy, I guess. But you want to create a second brain of your business. And this helps you actually make decisions based on data. The majority of SaaS companies, the way that they create their go-to-market or that they choose their ICP, they just sit down. One of the executives just sits down and is like, based on my experience, who should we reach out to? But even if you have the experience, the data is not there. You're functioning based on some vague memories of hundreds of calls and hundreds of interactions that you have. Your context window is not big enough for you to actually properly determine a good message, good positioning, determine what's the exact aha moment for your customers, determine based on all of your data, all of your conversations, how to proceed with your go-to-market strategy. Okay. You're not capable of doing it. Nobody's capable of doing it. That's why we have AI now. And it's amazing. The models are so good that at this point, I recommend anybody to do it with Opus 4.6 by Anthropic. It's an amazing model to do all of this. The main goal for you is to base your go-to-market strategy on real data. That's the reason why you need this. Without this, you're basing it based on your own perspective of the world, which is in most cases just through your own filter, which doesn't necessarily mean that it's right. Okay, so next part, pillar 4, is the multi-channel system. So the different channels, first we have outreach. So we have cold email. Usually it costs about $500 a month to start doing some email. Then we have LinkedIn outreach, which usually costs about $200 a month to start doing it. And then we have signal-based outreach. So tools like Clay.com, Apify. We used Apify in the previous example to scrape for our client Glassdoor. Trigify, which is for intent signals. For example, one of my clients is selling AI voice agents to companies. Okay, so we can just look at LinkedIn and see all of the companies in my client's ICP that are currently engaging with posts about AI voice agents. So those are people that are educated, they're currently looking at something to do with AI voice agents, they're in the ICP, so we can just reach out to them. This is what you can do with Trigify. Then we have AI Arc, which I showed you before. You can do lookalikes. There's quite a few tools for lookalikes. Then you have intent signals and you have your custom intent signals as well. Here I've put quite a few tools that you can use. Then we have ads. So I would recommend for you to do only after you're making at least $50,000 a month in recurring revenue. And you need to be expecting a ton of effort or time that you need to spend in the beginning, because you need to be testing, especially with the most recent meta updates of their advertising algorithm. You need to be testing so many different advertisements, different angles, different hooks, different call to actions, different creatives, different strategies. And the more that you do, the more you will be rewarded by the algorithm. With advertising, the customer acquisition cost is usually higher than outreach. For most companies, at least it is. And a very good thing you can do is you can change your offer structure for a self-liquidating front-end offer. I'm going to be going into detail of what this actually means. So you can have a setup fee, or we can have services on top. I will be explaining exactly how to do this in a little bit, so do not worry about it. One of the issues, as I said, is the customer acquisition cost is higher than outreach. And in general, for B2B SaaS companies, it takes about 12 to 15 months. This is official data, by the way. You can Google this. It takes 12 to 15 months to recover your customer acquisition cost. So if you spend $3,000 on acquiring a customer, for example, and they pay you something like $200 a month, it's going to take you about this long, right? So it actually costs about $3,000 to acquire somebody that pays you $200 a month. That's why you can change your offer structure so you can be more profitable. Then we have content, which is entirely free. And actually content helps the performance of your outreach, of your advertising, your partnerships, your referrals, your affiliate, your community, your marketplace, whatever that you do. Your content helps amplify the results of everything that you do in your business, and it's free to do as well. So you can do it by yourself. You watching this video, you can do content by yourself. You can hire a content team. But I would recommend, and I'm already doing, because a lot of this video was actually made with the help of Claude Code. You can build your own project that analyzes all of your previous content, your insights, your thought process, how you talk, who you are, and then it can translate that into some really high quality video outlines or post outlines or blog outlines, short form content, long form content, LinkedIn posts, YouTube posts. Claude Code can help you with, okay, and we already are doing it. I don't get any money for saying this. I'm saying it because it's simply amazing, okay? And you need to do that. You also should have a VSL. A lot of SaaS companies do not have a VSL, they have a short video. And I actually have on my YouTube channel, I have a video that's about 1 hour and 6 minutes long. This video will probably be longer by how it's going. But the longer the video, the more ideas you can put in there. And the more you can basically prove yourself as an expert. So you can have a way easier time converting people. Way easier. How can you say something different in 4 minutes? You cannot really say something that different. But give me an hour. I have one YouTube video that, as I said, is 1 hour and 6 minutes. This is going to be longer. That video with 1 hour and 6 minutes, it got me so many clients. Every single person that watched it until the end, and they were in my ICP, I've converted pretty much every single person that told me, hey, Alexander, I watched the video, let's work together. And those were cold leads. Those leads came from Routed, but they just watched some content and now they were sold. It came like a hot referral lead. That's why you need a long form VSL, long form content, especially if you're selling something more expensive. You need to embrace the one for very important. Volume is also king. So you want to do these longer form contents every day. But for example, if you're posting on LinkedIn, you should absolutely do it every single day, because it is something that compounds over time, and it usually takes 3 to 6 months to actually see any initial interest and to start getting inbound leads. But the measure of success, the measurement of success for content is not the inbound leads. It is that it helps all of the other channels perform better. So as soon as you film a VSL, you're already getting ROI on that, because your next deal or your next lead, you can just send them to the VSL. They can get educated. Then you can close a higher percentage of people. You understand, right? So actually the results of content are pretty much instantaneous. And then we have, for the other channel, we have partnerships, referrals, affiliate, community, and marketplace. I know that these are a bunch of different things, but I decided to put them together because they're all very similar in the way that they function. The way you create them is quite different, but they are all about building ecosystem. If you have a community, that's an ecosystem. If you have a marketplace, that's an ecosystem. Affiliate can also turn into an ecosystem. Referrals, partnerships, those are the ecosystem building blocks, right? So Clay.com, for example, they have an agency ecosystem. Clay.com, if I can find it on their website, actually, all of these people here, do you see? Like they have all of these people here that implement solutions with Clay.com specifically. You have thousands of agencies that swear behind the software. You have thousands of people that their livelihood on this earth depends on Clay.com succeeding and them succeeding with Clay.com. So that's an ecosystem, right? Same for HubSpot. You have a marketplace. You can even say that you have a community of people. You have partnerships. You also have a bunch of people that are doing consulting or implementations. There's thousands of agencies that do implementations inside of HubSpot because it's quite difficult to do a lot of stuff inside of HubSpot. This is the ecosystem. Then we have Go High Level, which is a software for agencies primarily, but basically agencies purchase the software from Go High Level for themselves so that they can white label it to different companies. And then let's say they're paying $300 a month to Go High Level. Then when they get a client, they can charge that client $500 a month. So the livelihood of the person with the agency depends on them selling more licenses Go High Level. And they use Go High Level for their own operations as well. This is an ecosystem. And they have a very big community as well. And people swear by the product. Then I have my company, which is Nurture AI. I'm also building an agency ecosystem where agencies can do consulting or implementations inside of the platform because you can do some very advanced inside of it. There is also affiliate, right? But the value, basically, I give a bunch of value to agency and I basically tell them, hey, with Nurture AI, you can close more of your deals. You can retain your clients for longer and you can get affiliate revenue by selling your clients on Nurture. And you can also do consulting and implementations inside of it too as well for other clients. That's the agency ecosystem, right? When it comes to channels, because we do talk about quite a few channels here, very important things for you to do is you need to combine a couple of them, especially after you generate the lead. I cannot even count the number of deals that I've lost or my clients have lost or companies have lost me as a client because they used email as a form of communication. Do not use email. Stop using email. You need to understand your leads are, you should assume that your leads are with ADHD, that they're scrolling Instagram, they're distracted constantly, and they still need to respond and they still need to see the value. Even if you had a couple of calls with the prospect, if you just send them an email, maybe they care about you, right? But it's not enough. That's why you need to be sending content. Content is the king. Content is the most important. Then you should call them. You should reach out to them on LinkedIn, on email. You should send them a text message. You can even go as far as sending them a physical gift or meeting them in person. Of course, it depends on your average contract value. If it's a very high contract value, then you can obviously go in person and have an easier time closing the deal. But even if it's something, if you're not selling something that expensive, you can still build really good automations to share the right content at the right time, depending on the market segment. You can also automatically follow up on LinkedIn, send text messages and send emails that are high quality. You should use AI to do this so that you're not sending a template of basically following up with a template. So you should basically not send a template, but you can use AI to customize the template based on all of your conversation history so far. The thing is that even if you get ghosted, if people do not respond to you, that's actually a good thing because that's happening to all of your competitors as well. They are not doing it properly. So it's a good thing because you have the opportunity to be the company that does it right, the company that sends content, the company that follows up on multiple different platforms, the company that doesn't use templatized follow-up strategies. Almost nobody does it properly and you can do it. And it's very simple. That's why it's a great opportunity. It's a very low-hanging fruit that gives just asymmetrical returns. Pillar number 5, creating unreasonably good positioning and messaging. As I said previously, messaging and positioning are not something that you can just sit down and think about and come up with something amazing. And it is not your choice of what good messaging and what good positioning is. To be completely frank, your choice does not matter And it just doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what you think. It is what does the market respond. The two most accurate sources for creating truly incredible messaging and positioning is number one, your business second brain, which is Claude Code, your project inside of Claude Code. So that has all of your data. Every single call recording, all of your CRM data, your top of funnel data, your content, your outreach data, it's all inside. So Claude Code basically analyze all. I think the context window is about 1 million tokens. That's about 4 million words, I think. Or no, about 4 million letters. Yeah, that's about 4 million letters. I think about 700,000 words it can analyze at the same time to come up with an explanation or come up with some insights of what good positioning and good messaging is. And you cannot do that on your own. And then the best way to do it, if you do not already have this data or you do not want to do it with Claude Code, you should be doing outreach or ads, and you should be doing a ton of different A/B tests. There is nothing better on the planet than outreach and advertising to figure out what your market responds to best. Because you can make content for a year with one messaging and never really get the feedback. But with outreach, it is so incredibly easy to test 30 different campaign strategies, and you just need to look at the KPIs. And it's very clear what people respond to best. You can also feed that data into Claude Code. You can see how people, different questions, they have different objections when it comes to different ways to position your product. This is actually very interesting because I've done this with over 100 different clients. And I think about different segments, different ways to send a different message, different call to actions, different positioning, communication style, framing, different signals to use. Ever since I started using Claude Code, it's so much easier to look at all of the data after I test each one of these to know which one works best. It is so much easier, right? But you need to be testing these things. As I said in the beginning, there is no such thing as you coming with the strategy by yourself. Do not do that. It should be based on data. If you do not have data, I'm telling you how to get the data. Okay, run outreach or run advertising for 3 months. You're going to have all of the data that you need. Simple as. You do not need more than 3 months if you do outreach properly. You can reach out to tens of thousands of people or hundreds of thousands or 100 people. It depends on your market size. Now, pillar number 6, one of the most important ones. You need to know and you need to understand your numbers. So this is about the SaaS pricing strategy and unit economics. The number one thing that you're fighting against is the long payback period. Now, what's the payback period? Let me make this graph here. This month, so this is time. Let's draw. We have time, and then here we have profit. Okay, time and profit. Now, when you acquire a customer here, let's say day one, you immediately spend 3K, for example. You spend 3K to acquire that customer. Now, there is some period that you're not profitable. You spend 3,000 because you run a SaaS company, you get paid monthly. At some point, you get that money back, right? This is your payback period. How long does it take? This part here, this is the payback period, PP, and this is the customer acquisition cost here. It's 3,000. Now, here's when you actually start profiting. But the issue is that this takes 12 to 15 months on average, usually for most companies, because you have a lot of expenses. You're paying for the software, you're paying for all of your employees, your sales team. It takes you 12 to 15 months to, and you're also paying for the advertising, for example. You just have so many different expenses to acquire that one customer. Thankfully, you're running a recurring business and hopefully you have a higher retention rate as well. But it still takes 12 to 15 months. Let's say that on average it takes 13 months. Now, you're really fighting against this because if you're not funded, it basically means that for 13 months you're losing money. So you cannot even afford to, if you're bootstrapped, you cannot even afford to acquire customers because it's too expensive. If you want to acquire 3 customers, or if you want to acquire 20 customers, you just spend 60K and you're not getting that back for the next 13 months. So what I want to talk about, and I'm actually going to share some strategies, how you can acquire customers effectively for free and profiting immediately. The biggest thing, when you acquire customers faster, or when you get your payback period to be within 30 days, for example, is not you do not have to wait 13 months, for example, to be profitable. The biggest single benefit is that you're multiplying money. So this is the LTV to CAC ratio. Usually the LTV to CAC ratio, LTV, by the way, means lifetime value. So throughout the whole time that somebody is with you, how much money do they give you on average? For example, if your pricing is $3,000 per year and the average person spends 3 years with you, that's 9,000. Okay, so if the LTV is 9K and the CAC, the customer acquisition cost, is 3K, then it's a 3-to-1 ratio. So a 3-to-1 ratio is considered the goal, what you should be aiming for. But I think you can honestly do high, depending on how you do everything. If you make 3K per year, but instead you do yearly pricing, for example, here you do yearly pricing, you can get that money back immediately. So effectively, you can make, that's 3K, you can spend that 3K within 30 days, you get that 3K back, and then you can reinvest it immediately. As soon as you get the money, you reinvest it back into the company and you 3X it. So every 30 days or every 60 days or every 7 days, it depends how quickly they pay you, you can be multiplying your money by a 3X. Instead of multiplying it every 13 months, you can multiply it every 30 days. So I will have 13 times the 3X. This is the real value of having a shorter payback period. It's not about being slightly more profitable so that you can go on a trip to Hawaii. It is about being able to multiply that money faster and basically allowing yourself to get that hockey stick growth way faster. Right here, it's always going to be so much slower. Now, one way to do it, as I said, is yearly pricing. And many people do not want to pay yearly. It's an obvious issue. Like, who wants to pay a year? It's not something great, right? But if you give some bonuses, for example, for Nurture, I give a bunch of different bonuses and discounts. I give a discount. I also do free special onboarding, free implementation. I give additional value and discounts that are worth about 60% of the deal, actually. So let's say that I charge 5K. I give additional value of 3K. We can do a migration for you, free setup, a lot of different things, about 60% additional value. So people can either basically pay, let's say it's like $450 a month for my software. This is not the actual pricing, by the way. But instead of paying $450 a month, they can pay 5K and get 3K additional value. Or instead of paying 500, which is actually 6K a year, they can pay 5K a year plus get 3K additional of actual things that they really care about. I'm not just saying, hey, I'll give you a really cool PDF. Nobody wants a really cool PDF. Genuinely solving real business challenges for free. So they can go, because it's worth it. Like, I would rather automate this with Claude Code, or let's say it takes one of my team members 1 hour to do. But it's worth it to get that 5K, because instead of waiting 10 months to get my payback period, instead of waiting 10 months, I can get it back immediately, and then I can spend that 5K on customer acquisition. So I can just spin the wheel over and over again, multiply my money by 3x. Our LTV to CAC ratio is actually way higher than 3x. So this is very important. Another strategy that companies can implement is a pilot for 60 to 90 days. So it's another way for you to get a little bit more money. And then after that pilot for 60 to 90 days, then you can go into that yearly pricing. So you can have only yearly pricing, but people still might be a little bit skeptical. So you can do that 60 to 90 day pilot. And you can also frame it as a big discount. Next, we have a self-liquidating offer. One of the companies that does this is Instantly AI. It's basically a cold email sending platform. And what they do is they basically charge you, I do not know the exact amount, but let's say it's $1,500, so that they can set up your cold email system for you. And then if you continue, you pay the $97 a month to the platform. Now, the good thing here for them is that if they just sold the $97 a month, it might cost them $1,500 for Facebook ads to acquire that customer. But they charge you that $1,500. They're essentially self-liquidating, right? They're getting the money, they're break even, and then they can immediately reinvest that money back, because they're effectively acquiring a customer that's recurring for $97 a month for free. They're literally acquiring customers for free, and listkit.io is a similar platform that's similar to Apollo, to ZoomInfo, to AIArc, as I showed you. What they do is very similar. They charge you $1,500 to set up some things for you, and they have it very automated, by the way. It's not something that takes a long time. They're immediately liquidating on the front end, and then they're acquiring the customers for free, and then they can put that money back into the business, and they can be getting that money multiplication over and over again instead of waiting. Especially if you're not a funded company, or even if you're a funded company, you should consider doing this because it makes a lot of sense. Next up, we have value-based pricing. So this doesn't really have to do much with the pricing itself or anything like this self-liquidating where you even have another offer that you put on top of your company. The value-based pricing is going away from, hey, I'm going to get you this software, to, hey, look at our case studies. Look at what people are achieving with our software. If you pay me, for example, what do I do for Nurture? If you pay me $500 a month, for example, let's say that that's the price, $500 a month, I can tell you all of the features that you get, but I don't stop there. I tell you, hey, with this feature that you're paying for, usually companies like yours or agencies or SaaS companies like yours see a 60% increase in conversion rate for this step of the sales process specifically. Now, okay, Mr. Prospect, you get about 100 leads, you close 10 of them. With Nurture, you can close 16 of them, so 60% additionally. Now, if 6 additional closes bring you $5K each, that means that the value of the software is actually $30K that we're adding. So if we're adding $30K per month, would the $500 be justified? And this is just quick math. So I'm not promising anything. I'm saying, hey, these are typical results that our clients get. I don't know what results you're going to get. It's a software. You need to still use it, right? It's not a service, but this is very typical, right? Then no, like the $500 seems so cheap, incredibly cheap. You're getting a 60x return. 68. You're gonna take that deal. Okay, you will take that deal. Next up, we have a setup fee. So HubSpot has this. They think they charge anywhere from 1.5K to, I don't even know, like over 7K, I think, for a setup. It costs them a little bit of money to set you up, but also if they set you up on the platform, you're more likely to get better results. They have some customer acquisition costs to talk to you on the phone, to get sales reps or account executives to talk to you. And they are basically covering those costs and acquiring you as a monthly paying user or a yearly paying user effectively for free. Then they can put that money back into the advertising, into the marketing, into the sales-led motion of the software, and they can make a lot more money. Or with Nurture, for the people that want to do monthly, I have a setup fee, right? Because the software is way more powerful when it's set up and it's quite difficult for people to do it. I have a setup fee. However, the setup fee is actually included if you do the yearly pricing. So I'm always trying to force people to that yearly pricing so I can walk them in for longer as well. But if they do not want that, I still get because I'm not a funded company, my agency still makes a lot of money and that's getting poured into the software company, but it's not enough, right? I want the software company to be able to be profitable on its own without fun. And this is the way that you do it. Even if you're a funded company, you should consider this because interest rates are not 0% like they were, and you need to not just be spend your pockets, okay? Pillar number 7 is your 6-month roadmap. So this is a plan with real numbers. The first point is your foundation. So step number 1 is you need to create a Claude Code second brain of your business. This will help you set up everything else here. So when you do content, when you do your outreach, when you do anything else, this Claude Code second brain is going to just make it reasonably easier for you. Telling you, I have no affiliation with Claude, with Anthropic. It changed the way that I do business. It is so good and you need to be using it. Next, you need to optimize your marketing and sales process specifically for converting cold traffic, because the majority of your market, as I explained in one of my previous videos, actually, it's so much stuff. Let me try to find one of my previous videos. I think it's right here, okay? So one of my previous videos, basically explaining that the majority of the people in the world have no clue who you are, no clue. And then you're optimizing your business for this person. Right? That's not the way. Unless you're a very big company and a lot of people know about you, then you can get away with a different strategy. But for most cases, for most companies that are watching this video, people do not know about you. So you need to understand that and change your strategy. You need more long form content. So I strongly recommend a VSL, which is a video sales letter. So it's a long form sales letter filmed as a video because people like videos. You can also have it in written format if you prefer, but I think videos are way better. Then you need to create long form educational content on YouTube, as I'm doing right now. This is actually quite one if you do not need to do it like this. But as I said, too many companies are doing these really ambiguous 3-minute videos. That's not going to sell your company. There is a huge percentage of people that are ready to consume a lot of content. So optimize for that, okay? Make content. Your competitors are not making good content for the majority of industries in the world. Your competitors are not making good content. You should do it. You should make long form content because now if you watch something that's an hour long, I have opportunity to change the way that you think. I have the opportunity to really show brilliance either in my product, either in myself, in my services. I have that, and I have an opportunity to say something different. So stop making these 5-minute videos. Okay, it's not beneficial. You should have some shorter videos, obviously, but a huge percentage of the market is ready to see those longer videos and they want it, right? They're already spending an hour on TikTok or on Instagram or on other content on YouTube. So you can do it. Web page to talk about features a little bit less and focus more on outcome and proof. So proof is typical case study. Get case studies, extremely important. The more case studies, especially for a SaaS company or an agency or any type of company, get more case studies and put the outcomes, the specific outcome that people got with your software in the case study itself. Then step number 3, if you're going to be doing outbound, you need to set up your outbound infrastructure. So I recommend doing about 20 domains, 2 accounts per domain. So you can have around 40 Google accounts for cold email specifically. And with that, you can write 600 to 800 emails per day, which is plenty. Then you need to optimize your LinkedIn page. Ideally, you need to set up your Claude Code, which is going to help you create that daily content in about 15 minutes, maybe even 5 minutes. It really depends how good you are at setting it up. Then you need to optimize your headline, your experiences, your about section, your call to action, your feature section, and your banner. Then you need to build these dynamic ICPs. So again, everything goes back to the first step, which is the foundation of your Claude Code that you're going to use as a second brain of your business because it helps with all of these steps and makes them easier. If you want to create a new outreach strategy, if you want to create new content, if you want to create a long form video, if you want to create a new channel setup, your second brain inside of Claude Code can help you with all of that. If you want to write a follow-up, it's also going to help because it has context of who you are, what you sell, how you work. You don't need to go into ChatGPT and explain from the beginning every time. Okay, so step number 5, build dynamic ICP and segments. You can use AI Arc as I showed you. Let's go into AI Arc. You can use this tool. You can search for people. You can search for companies. It's a really good tool. Then you go into Clay. You get the list from AI Arc. You put it into Clay. In Clay, you enrich it. You filter it. They made the platform a lot easier to use in recent times. Then we have number 6, you create detailed SOPs and sets of best practices to follow for the sales process specific. Now, you need to be nurturing your leads with valuable content. Long form content works really well because if somebody is going to purchase something, especially if it's expensive, they are ready to dedicate 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, 3 hours into getting educated on the topic. They will ask ChatGPT, they will watch videos on it, they will ask people, but you do not control that. You should control it, however. So you need to produce content. People want to get educated, especially if it's something expensive that you're selling. So you should control the educational process so that you're basically always leading people in your direction, right? So everything is, all roads lead to your software, basically. All conclusions lead to your software. And if I'm actually going to tell you right now, I've been telling you to use Claude Code and it's quite difficult, right? But it's very important. And I think if you watch the video, You understand that Claude Code is extremely important for you to implement, but you have the difficulty of implementing it. It's really difficult to implement it. That's why I created Nurture AI, because it already comes pre-configured. A lot of these things specifically for the sales process, they come pre-configured. Do you see? So I have genuinely convinced you, if you watch this video so far, that you need Claude Code. You see the value of it, but they already built a product that solves the biggest challenge, which is the difficulty of creating something that's high quality, that's secure, that you trust with Claude Code, or that works like Claude. That's my software, right? And I'm educating through this content, which you can do the same, by the way, and you should do the same, so that you control the thought process of the people, and then you become the only reasonable choice. Nurture is the only reasonable choice for anybody that watches this video and is truly concentrated in what I'm saying. And if you're in my ICP as well, my software seems like a no-brainer, which I don't want to get too much into that. I'm not specifically trying to sell it because we have a wait list of companies, but this is just an example that I'm trying to give. So I'm not trying to like make you buy something. It's an example. Okay. You additionally need multi-channel follow-up. I'm continuing now. So the nurturing process with the valuable content. Then you hit them on multiple channels. You are relentless. Okay. You do not stop at one email. Oh, they didn't respond to my email. Follow up again. You spend the time. You spend the money to acquire them. You spend time on content. You got somebody. Now you need to nurture. Now is your time to nurture them. And that's the origin of the name Nurture of my software. Helps you with that nurturing. Okay. Again, I'm convincing you, you need to do nurturing, and nurture is the best way to do nurture. You need to flip this for your own content. Convince your target audience that they need to do something, which they genuinely need to do, because I assume that your product has genuine value in the market. Convince people that what they need to do with your software is the best possible thing they can do, and then convince them that the best possible way to do that thing is with your software. Okay, this is the way you need to do it. Okay, how much does it cost? It costs around $100 to use Claude Code per month. If you want to get like the higher tier, it's $200 a month. I think the $20 a month one is not that good. So I would genuinely recommend the one for $100 or the one for $200 a month. And then for email and LinkedIn outreach, you have about $800 a month that you need to be spending. Okay, next we have optimizations and tests. After you do all of these foundations and all of these things that you need to do to set up the systems, you can increase your outreach in your ads volume. So let's say you started with 600 to 800 a day, or maybe you started with 50 a day. It really depends. You can increase this slowly, and you need to constantly be testing different things. This is the testing phase. As I said in one of the previous, for ICPs and targeting, the list is the message. Okay, so different lists, different messages. Which list works better? Which message works better? Which segment? Which signal? Which target audience works better? Which positioning works better? All of these things you need to test, and the best way to do it, as I explained to you, is with outreach or advertising. Now, advertising, usually you need like $20,000 to start off with, because it's quite expensive. With outreach, it's a little bit cheaper. So I would say that if you're short on budget, do outreach. If you have the budget, you should definitely consider advertising, because it's really, you need to feed all of your outreach data after that via the APIs of the different platforms to Claude Code. You need to analyze the performance weekly. So you have one campaign with 1,000 people that got half the results of another one that's targeting the same group, but it has a different message. So just understand why that message works better. Understand how people are responding as well. So this is the testing phase in getting that feedback. Why are you getting the feedback? So you can create a better ICP, you can create better positioning, you can create better messaging. And this data from your outreach, for example, then should absolutely go into your website. It should go into your content. It should go into your demos as well, because you're learning what people respond to. You're learning what a cold audience cares about. You do this without, and you should keep doing daily content. I think that's very important. You should pick the platform that your audience is on. For example, my audience is on LinkedIn, and that's why I need to be doing daily LinkedIn. If your audience is on Facebook, on Instagram, or on Reddit, or maybe another platform, Twitter, for example, or X, then you should do daily content on there. daily content is extremely important because the algorithms reward you for your effort. And as I said, do not expect inbound leads from content. Expect your outreach, expect all of your other efforts to work better even before your content gets a lot of views. So start doing content and do it with Claude Code specific. Then you can even do, you can create a possible list, people you can do partnerships with. So let's say for my software, specifically Nurture, I can go into large sales communities or large communities of agency founders, and I can basically set up a deal with them so that they can get affiliate revenue by recommending my tool to their audience. And then the last step is to scale this. So you can go multi-channel, you can even include some cold calling inside of the mix, or you can do warm calling. I recommend doing warm calling. So as soon as you get one lead that positively responded to your automated outreach. With your automated outreach, you can spread your arms very far away. You can get a bunch of you can reach out to so many different people. As soon as somebody is interested, then you can go with that more expensive form of outreach, which is cold calling, because that requires an actual person to Glassdoor. You cannot pay that, as I said, but you need about $20,000 in budget just to figure out if you can get some results. I wouldn't really recommend doing anything with less than that because customer acquisition cost for a B2B client is really high. Usually. After you're scaling, again, this is a 6-month roadmap. Your content should start bringing in some inbound leads, especially if you're doing it daily. Your content will keep compounding, which will also give compounding effects to your advertising and to your outreach. And your Claude Code second brain will be more powerful than ever. It will be a complete game changer if you do it next week. 6 months after, it will have so much data. It will have saved you so many hours that it will just be invaluable. I've been doing it for months at this point because the tool is not that old. I started very compared to most people, and it has already given me so much value in my business. So Claude Code is amazing for the use cases that I'm telling you specifically, by the way, not for some random use cases of building automations. Okay, and then we have Pillar 8, which is building a successful self-improving ecosystem. So let's take my company, Nurture, for example. Now, there's a couple different things. In the beginning, we're targeting specifically agencies. The reason why we're targeting agencies is because both the agency itself, but also all of the clients of the agency, these are a bunch of different clients, let's say, all of these clients here, they can also benefit from our solution. Okay, so we're basically reaching out to the agency and we're saying, okay, you get higher close rate, you get referral revenue, okay, you get referral revenue, you get higher retention because you as an agency give leads. These are lead gen agencies for the most part. You as a lead gen agency, you give leads to your clients. Your clients are going to churn if they do not convert those. With our software, however, they can close a higher percentage of the leads that you give to them, okay? So they get more value from the same service with our software. But not only do your clients get more value from the same service, you also get money. We're giving you money because you helped us sell this to your clients. And you're also getting a higher close rate for your own deals in your own agency, okay? The ecosystem, everybody benefits so much. Everybody is benefiting here. And there's a bunch of other things that we do with some of those agencies. Then can help those clients here. They can build implementations inside of Nurture. So it kind of, it creates this cycle here. That's really good, okay? So that's specifically for my company. I can explain in a lot more detail, but that's a quick overview of how we're doing it. Then we have Clay.com, okay? Clay.com genuinely have tens of thousands of people that make money, that put food on their table by building solutions with Clay. Okay? So they go into other companies and they have to sell their skill set of using Clay. Even people go to companies and they say, hey, can I set up Clay for you, right? And where is the money going to? So let's call them the freelancers or the agencies. They themselves are using Clay. They're giving money to Clay. Clay is not giving any money to them, by the way, unless they're doing the affiliate thing. Then you have like SaaS companies, let's say. some big SaaS companies. So these people go to the SaaS companies, the freelancers and the agencies, go to the SaaS companies and they say, hey, I can get you on Clay. So everything is pointing towards Clay. They have agencies, they have a partner ecosystem, they have a bunch of freelancers that want to set up things in this. So there's thousands of people that wake up every single day that are outside of the company itself, and they try to, or they take actions daily that make the company bigger, even though they don't work at the company. Now we have HubSpot. Here it's the same thing, but they also have a marketplace, market name at MP. They have a marketplace of a bunch of different apps. Now HubSpot, it's not my favorite software. There's a lot of issues with it. It's a really good software though. It's a no-brainer for many companies, but they have a marketplace because software has a lot of inefficiencies or things that can be better. In the marketplace, there's people that dedicate their time to building small products, small software products on top of HubSpot itself, right? Improving it. So somebody wakes up for a couple of months or a couple of years of their life so that they can make something that goes on top of HubSpot so that people using HubSpot can get more value out of HubSpot. Okay, that's an ecosystem, self-improving, self-grown. And if you do not have something like this, it's a lot harder for you to scale, right? You can see how all of these big companies have something like this, and this is why they're able to grow so easy or to grow so big as well. Now, this has been it for the video. I know that it's quite long, but what you need to understand is you should have been taking notes on everything. And when it comes to implement Claude Code, because I know I mentioned that quite a few times, you should definitely look into using Nudge, because everything just comes pre-configured. If you want to exactly what comes in that, you should just go to the website. It's nudge.ai. If you want me to implement go-to-market solutions for you specifically or come up with the right go-to-market system for your company, then you can reach out to me. There's some links in the comments. I obviously know what I'm talking about. Even if you don't reach out to me, it's fine. That's not the goal of the video. I enjoy making these videos. So subscribe to the channel if it's the first time you're watching this. I genuinely spent a ton of time making this video. Made some really nice drawings as well. So thank you for watching if you watched the whole way through. And I'll come out with some great content in the next couple of days as well. So bye-bye.